Good, Niner fans? How we doing today? How we feeling? Yo, the 53-man roster officially was announced today. As we all know, a lot of roster cuts. Unfortunate for a lot of players that didn't make the 53 roster, but a lot of them will get, back on the team, on the practice squad, as long as they clear the waivers. Hopefully these guys can clear the waivers. There's some really good players that were cut today. We'll go through the 53-man roster. I don't know. You guys surprised? What do you guys think in the comments as we get through this today? There were some surprises to me. Niners kept 7 wide receivers. Now, I know there's the Brandon Ayuk situation, but Ronnie Bell, to me, was the biggest surprise out of all of them. Jalen Graham didn't make the roster. We talked about it the other day. It was kind of like I was on the fence. I was like, I don't know if he's going to make it. Or Curtis Robinson. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Curtis Robinson makes it. It is what it is with Curtis Robinson. So, 2 tight ends. Hold up. 2 tight ends were made and on the roster, but I'm thinking there's going to be some moves over the next few days that happens that allows them to add some players, like Cameron Latu didn't make the roster. It's a terrible 3rd round pick, and, et cetera, et cetera. So Danny Gray, another guy that just unfortunate for the guy, he just never stuck, but we'll get into it. Let's get to the roster. Big news from Elijah Mitchell. He's going on the season-ending injured reserve. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. I told you guys, Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, JR3. He's going to make the roster because he's best friends with Fred Warner. Like I told you guys, it's roster politics. Now, I thought Trent Taylor had a chance, but he didn't get the roster spot. Chris Conley deservedly so got the roster spot over Trent Taylor. Thank God he did. My man Carl says, I heard Frank Gore Jr. got cut from the Bills. Yeah, he definitely did. And you know what? That's crazy. I heard that he'll probably go back to the Bills if he clears waivers. I don't know if he's going to clear waivers. He balled out in the preseason. So we shall see. Let's get to it. Let's get through the offense. Let's go right down the list, and we'll talk about things as they come up. 49ers kept 3 quarterbacks today. It wasn't a surprise because they changed the quarterback rule. Before, you can have a quarterback on the practice squad get called up on game day weekend and use them as your 3rd quarterback. Now you have to have 3 quarterbacks on your roster. You can't just do the call-up. So the 49ers, because of the PTSD, because of the past, the 3 quarterback rule that originated from the 49ers. We'll remember on NFC Championship game against the Eagles, they had no quarterbacks, and the rule, matriculated. They have 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and I think it's a good quarterback room. You got Josh Dobbs, Brock Purdy, and Brandon Allen. I thought Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen did good enough to make this roster. Unfortunately for Tanner Mordecai, he got cut this morning, but I think they'll bring him back on the practice squad as long as he clears waivers. He was really good in preseason. Might as well keep him, let him develop, because next year, Brandon Allen's probably not going to be on the roster, or Josh Dobbs. So you can have Tanner Mordecai be your QB2 of the future. So it makes sense there. Brock Purdy in for a big year. I think he has an MVP caliber year up his sleeve, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll get to that as that goes. But big news on this offensive 53-man roster was the 49ers kept 7 wide receivers. 7. I thought they were going to go 6. This was the hardest cut to make, I felt, and linebackers, because they're really good positions, on this team. A lot of talent. But, man, oh, man, the 49ers, when they kept 7 receivers, I was proud of Ronnie Bell. Looks like Kyle Shanahan gave him a second opportunity on this team. I thought he might be on the doghouse. But you know what? Shout out to Ronnie Bell. I know he wasn't consistent this season in the preseason and stuff, but, he looked good in camp. He was really good last year in his rookie season. In the early part of the season, preseason, the Giants game, like there were some flashes you saw of Ronnie Bell. He's not a return man. We found that out, So the 49ers have some guys that could return butts, Jacob Cowing and Isaac Garendo. And you know what? Ronnie Bell's a good blocker. He did that in college in Michigan. He was a solid blocker. So you know what? Kyle Shanahan likes players that can block. And I think that's really what kept Ronnie Bell on this roster and Brandon Ayuk situation. Like whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But I think they'll figure that out. But still, you need some insurance. You have Ronnie Bell, who's been playing for the last couple of weeks on the preseason roster. So shout out to Ronnie Bell. So the wide receivers are Debo, Ronnie Bell, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, who came back to practice yesterday. Put him in bubble wrap. He's a little fragile. You got Jawan Jennings, who I expect him to go crazy this year. Jawan Jennings, man. Honestly, Jawan Jennings, this could be a huge season for him with the whole Brandon Ayuk situation. I'm sure he'll be back, but Jawan Jennings signed a 2-year contract extension. The guy's just gotten better every year. You know how good he is on the clutch, third down money. And then they got Chris Conley. I was so happy for this guy, veteran. He was like a playoff hero. He was great in the Super Bowl. I love Chris Conley, and I'm glad he made this roster. He deserved it. Out of all the receivers, obviously Debo and Ayuk and Jennings are going to make it. I think Chris Conley deserved it so much because he's worked his tail off for this team, preseason, training camp, everything. I love Chris Conley, man. Great veteran, and I'm glad we have him. Good special teamer, too. And then Jacob Cowing, man. Of course he makes it. He was a stud in preseason, and good for him. Good for him. Very good for Jacob Cowing. I'm excited about him. I mean, I want to see what Ricky Pearsall can do, but I'm so excited about Jacob Cowing that he kind of made us forget about Ricky Pearsall for a minute. You know, even though he was the first-round pick, Jacob Cowing's ceiling looks incredible. So, yeah, shout out to Jacob Cowing. Again, the wide receivers, Debo, Ronnie Bell, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Chris Conley, and Jacob Cowing. I think they made the right choice. It was hard to cut those guys. And I know Ronnie Bell, again, been inconsistent. He's a good blocker, and I'm happy for the guy. He was a tough player last year, and I like that Kyle Shanahan's giving him another chance here because he's a good blocker. And that's one thing that Danny Gray just didn't do. He couldn't block. The guy couldn't block to save his life. Like, even if you can't catch the ball, even if you get hurt, if you can block for Kyle Shanahan's offense, you got a spot because guess what? Blocking is important. Look, the tight ends always block. They use the tight ends as a blocker. If you can block on this offense in the run game and downfield, you got a chance. A willing and able blocker is important for Kyle Shanahan, and that's what Ronnie Bell did to make this roster. So Danny Gray, he couldn't block. He couldn't stay healthy. It's unfortunate for him. It's kind of sad, though, to see Danny Gray, cut. I remember in the preseason we saw the big play, him and Trey. Oh, my God, we were hyped out of our mind. And that was literally his highlight of his NFL career. It's sad, but it is what it is, all right? So we'll talk about the guys that got cut. Wide receiver Robbie Chosen, he got cut. I mean, all the media members were glazing. Oh, Robbie Chosen, can't believe they cut him. He was there for camp. He'll probably make the practice squad. Robbie Chosen will probably make the practice squad. He is quick down the line. He has good line speed. Trent Taylor got cut. George Kittle's best friend got cut. He'll probably be on the practice squad. Guarantee you that he'll make that practice squad. Let's see. Danny Gray, he got cut. Maybe practice squad. Again, it's just unfortunate for him. And then who else got cut? Tay Martin just never really developed. He could stay on the practice squad. He's a young guy. They could continue to develop him, but it's not a huge loss. Tay Martin's not better than Jacob Cowing, Ricky Pearsall, or Ronnie Bell. That's it, bottom line. So that's it. He couldn't beat those guys, and Chris Conley. So that's it. And again, Ricky Pearsall, I need to see this guy play. I can't wait to see him. I know he's been injured. But when you see him, when you see his film, when you see him on the line, he looks smooth. He looks great. He looks like butter. But he needs to stay healthy. So, yeah. So, my man Flood says they're replaying the Niners game on the NFL Network right now. We need Trent back so bad. Yeah, we'll talk about Trent. Yeah, we need Trent. Val Brooks says Pearsall can move in college. Very impressive. He is impressive. He's a really, really, really impressive player on tape. I saw him play in college a lot. He's a quick guy. He could catch the contested catches. He's a good route runner. Everything that's said about him is true. But in the NFL, it's a different game. He never got hurt in college. But in the NFL, it's bigger players. And I'm worried about that because he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But I love the guy's talent. But again, when the 49ers needed offensive line, really, and they went for the wide receiver because they didn't know what was going to happen with this wide receiver group. They still don't know. We got, maybe 2 weeks till the first game of the season, and we still don't know what the heck's going to happen with Trent and Brandon Ayuk. I think Trent's going to sign, but he wants to get paid. And according to Josina Anderson this morning, he's like saying, no, you don't pay me top of the line. Figure it out. I think he might do what Chris Jones did last year, right? He held out week 1. He didn't play until he got his money. And he's all right, bet. That's what he's going to do. I really think he's going to go that route. But we'll see. Moving forward, the 49ers, they kept a couple running backs. They kept 5 if you count the fullback position. You got Christian McCaffrey, who's, coming off an offensive player of the year season. The guy's just had a hell of a year. We all love Christian McCaffrey. We know he's going to be great. They kept Jordan Mason. He's your running back, too. I love that, man. Jordan Mason, a couple of years ago, was undrafted. Now he's your running back, too. What a fantastic player. Patrick Taylor Jr. Remember, they got him in this offseason from Green Bay. I didn't think he was going to make the roster, and he made it. He had a good preseason. He had a good training camp. And unfortunately for Elijah Mitchell, He's going on the season-ending injured reserve. So they kept Patrick Taylor over Elijah Mitchell. That was a shocker to me. I mean, obviously Elijah Mitchell's always hurt. I had no clue that he was going to be on the injured reserve list for the season. Crazy. He just came back to practice the other day. And I remember in the comments, someone was like, "Oh, don't worry, he'll go on the injured reserve for 2 days." It's literally what happened. I shit you not. Yesterday, I remember, I don't know if it was yesterday or, yeah, it was yesterday. I posted, Elijah Mitchell has returned to practice. He literally, I remember the comment, and I was like, man, these people hate Elijah Mitchell. Bro, literally the next day, just like they said, he's going on the injured reserve like he did. Can't make it up, man. You just can't make it up. This was 6 days ago. 49ers running back Elijah Mitchell hamstring returned to practice today. That was 6 days ago. And then someone said, don't worry, you'll go on the injured reserve. And then today, Elijah Mitchell, breaking news, Elijah Mitchell is on the season-ending injured reserve. That's just tough. This guy was so good his rookie season. He set the franchise record in rookie rushing yards. He was injured half the season. That's how good he was. He's so good for the 49ers, but he can't stay healthy. And now he's on the injured reserve list. So unfortunately for him, he's missing a season. But fortunately for Patrick Taylor, he took a roster spot. And Isaac Guerrero, the rookie who played one game in preseason and showed everybody like, oh, no wonder Kyle Shanahan drafted this guy with the third-round pick. And 49ers and third-round picks, not always great. Sometimes they're good. Dominic Pooney looks good. Fred Warner has been amazing. Jair Brown looks good, right? Mitch Wishnowsky was good, or is good. And Dominic Pooney looks pretty good. But we've had some bad third-round picks. Ahkello Witherspoon, C.J. Beathard, all the running backs, Trey Sermon, right? Jalen Hurd. Those are all third-round picks from the 49ers. It just were disasters. And you can add Ambry Thomas in that mix too. Who else was a third-round pick? Who else? I'm trying to think. Those are for the most part all the third-round picks. Let me see. I wrote them down. They have some really bad third-round picks over the years. Let me see. So, 2017 was Ahkello Witherspoon and C.J. Beathard. They were terrible. But shout out to C.J. Beathard. Somehow he getting traded landed us getting Brock Purdy in a roundabout way. Fred Warner, amazing. Tarvarius Moore, he didn't pan out. Jalen Hurd, Trey Sermon, Ambry Thomas, Ty Davis Price, that's the other guy. Danny Gray, Jair Brown, Jake Moody. Okay, that's what I meant to say. Jake Moody over Mitch Wishnowsky. Jake Moody, we're still 50-50 on. Cam Latu, guy's terrible. And then Dominic Pooney this year. He looks good. He looks great. But for the most part, those third-round picks are not good. So it's unbelievable. Well, yeah, of course, we got Christian McCaffrey. Thank God we do. But let's hope he can stay healthy. And, of course, Kyle Juszczyk, the man, the fullback. This guy's amazing. We all love him. What are we going to do without Juice when he's done with the team? I hope that's never anytime soon. He's so important for the blocking game. But, again, running backs, you got Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Taylor, Isaac Guerrero, Kyle Juszczyk. I think that's a great running back team. Again, shout out to Patrick Taylor. Didn't see it coming. I didn't see Elijah Mitchell getting hurt, but shout out to him. Unfortunate for Cody Schrader. He got cut. He didn't make the roster. I think he'll be back on the practice squad. I like Cody Schrader, but I just don't think he wowed everybody enough in the preseason. I think it was maybe he was just the jitters. Maybe the game was just too fast for him right now. But I think Cody Schrader could be a very good player for this team. He'll develop, and he'll work his way up. And the 49ers, they have a really good development system for these players. They take these guys, they put them on the practice squad, and they turn them into really good players. Azeez Al-Shaair a couple years ago, practice squad guy. Nobody knew who the heck Azeez Al-Shaair was. Now we wish he was still on the roster, right? Really good player. He's become a starting, linebacker in the league. He's created his own path. There's several guys like that in the 49ers. They're undrafted. They become really good players. Kendrick Bourne, right? Undrafted guy comes up, and he becomes a really good player. So 49ers, late-round picks, undrafted 7th-round picks, undrafted guys. Kyle Shanahan knows how to turn them into good players. So, but yeah, unfortunate for Cody Schrader. He didn't make it, but I think we haven't heard the last of Cody Schrader. So we'll see. A couple other notes here. Tight ends. They only got 2 tight ends. You got George Kittle and Jake Tonges. Jake Tonges is your tight end too, ladies and gentlemen. I was shook. I mean, I guess he was not horrible. He was the most consistent tight end of the group. Eric Sauber, I felt maybe was, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick because nobody after George Kittle wowed me in training camp and preseason. You got George Kittle and then everybody else. That list of tight ends after George Kittle it was a shot in the dark. It was a crapshoot. Throw a dart on the board. And honestly, Jake Tonges, the last 2 games, he actually probably played better than everybody else. He made consistent plays. He was consistent in practice, and he's a pretty decent blocker compared to the other guys. So I think tomorrow when the 49ers continue to adjust their roster because they had to keep certain guys on it, like Ambry Thomas, they'll put him on the injured reserve, and you can elevate Eric Saubert to the roster if he clears waivers. And then maybe Braden Willis. I don't know. They cut the 2 tight ends, though, Willis and Cam Latu. Cam Latu, man. What a downfall. This guy was drafted in the 3rd round, and he can't even make the roster. You can't even make the roster. That's a horrible pick. We just talked about 3rd round picks. He was terrible. But, yeah, so Eric Saubert got cut. I think he'll be back. If he doesn't make the practice squad, I think 49ers will bring Eric Saubert back as tight end 3. Logan Thomas, that's a guy that could come back. They liked him. They brought him back. They cut him. They brought him back. He was injured. I could see them bringing back Logan Thomas. The 2 young tight ends, again, Braden Willis, he was cut. Cam Latu was cut. Mason Peline was cut. But I think Mason Peline is a guy they're going to put on the practice squad. I liked him. He just didn't seem like he was ready yet, for a 53-man roster. I think Mason Peline, stick him on the P squad, let him develop. I'm going to go from there. But, yeah, Braden Willis and Cam Latu, they gone. Yeah, it definitely is hard to get one up on Kittle Valley. I agree. 49ers will add more tight ends, waiting to see who gets cut. Absolutely, Red Eye. That's what I was saying is I'm sure the 49ers, once they get some guys on the injured reserve and move a few guys here and there, because it's just there is some procedural moving that has to be done. Once they put certain players like on the injured reserve list, again, like Ambry Thomas, they'll be able to move Eric Saubert or whoever the hell they want that tight end position. But they only kept 2 right now. God, can you imagine if they only keep 2 the rest of the year? That's definitely not a Kyle Shanahan roster. They'll definitely have more than 2 tight ends on opening night. On the first night of the season against the Jets, they'll at least have 3 tight ends. There's no way they don't. So, and then the offensive line, there's a glaring omission on the offensive line. Trent Williams is not on the roster yet because he doesn't count against the roster because he's on the non-return list because he was holding out, just like a non-report list, just like Nick Bosa last year, right? Nick Bosa was not on the initial 53-man roster. Trent Williams is not on the initial 53-man roster. Now, Trent Williams better be on the 53-man roster when they open up the season against the Jets. You need to figure that situation out because right now, here's your offensive line. John Feliciano, who's going to probably go on the injured reserve. We talked about Ambry Thomas. John Feliciano had knee surgery. He's going to go on the injured reserve, miss half the season, so they can elevate another tight end or somebody. Nick Zakelj, he's going to be your backup center. Not feeling too hot about that. I liked Drake Nugent better, but what do I know? Kyle Shanahan knows the roster better than me. Jake Brendel is your starting center. Aaron Banks, he broke his pinky, but he should be back by week 1. He's going to be your starting left guard. Colton McKivitz is your starting right tackle. Spencer Burford, he's your backup right guard right now. He's coming back from a broken hand, so he's going to be behind Dominic Pooney, who is your starting right guard. And shout out to Dominic Pooney. The guy played his ass off. Right now, I think Dominic Pooney is our best offensive lineman, and he's a rookie without Trent Williams. It's pretty amazing. I know Aaron Banks is good, but he's coming off an injury. Right now, Dominic Pooney is our strongest, healthiest offensive lineman. He's a rookie. Shout out to Dominic Pooney. And then you have Jalen Moore, the backup tackle. Right now, he's your starting left tackle if they don't figure out the Trent Williams situation. But I think they will. I hope and pray they will. But right now, Jalen Moore is your starting left tackle if Trent Williams isn't back on the roster. Jalen Moore, after Trent Williams comes back to the roster, is your swing tackle. Let's just pray that Trent Williams doesn't get hurt. Because Jalen Moore doesn't strike fear to me. It's not so high. So this morning, Jacina Anderson reported that this is what she heard about Trent Williams. She said that she's hearing that Trent Williams wants to be paid like the very important piece that he is. Another league source added this morning, San Francisco is between a real rock and a hard place because Trent is not playing around. He ain't playing games, ladies and gentlemen. Something may have to give unless you're allowing for big adjustments next season. Trent's not sitting there saying, oh, yeah, you can pay me like an extra $1 million or $2 million. He wants to be paid top dollar. He wants a big raise. He wants guaranteed money. He signed a contract a couple years ago, but he doesn't care. He's like, I want the guaranteed money. You gave me all my guaranteed money, but I want more guaranteed money. Can you guarantee me that? I can guarantee you I play after that. So That's where we stand on Trent Williams. He's not officially on the roster, or he doesn't count against the roster because he's holding out. That's a tricky situation. So right now, your offensive line is John Feliciano, Nick Zakelj, Jake Brendel, Aaron Banks, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, Jalen Moore, and Dominic Pooney. I don't think that's a Super Bowl offensive line. No offense. I love Dominic Pooney, though. Shout out to the rookie for becoming a starter in your first season. That guy's amazing. So, making a threat. My man Red Eye says he really threatened the Niners. He says, I woke up. That's the first thing I saw this morning. I said, really? It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I see this, and I was like, come on, man. He says he's not playing around. 6:30 in the morning. I'm sitting here going, come on, man. Are you kidding me? This is what I wake up to. This is why the Niners should have drafted Wirfs. This is why the 49ers should have drafted offensive line for several years. But it's a whole nother story for another day. So that's your offensive players. Again, Trent Williams is a big omission, not on the team right now. We need him. The Niners are not winning the Super Bowl. Or not making the Super Bowl without Trent Williams on that roster. It's not looking hot. So let's go review the offensive roster cut. So again, Ben Bartch didn't make it. Chris Hubbard didn't make it. Didn't think he would. Brandon Parker didn't make it. Those are some of the offensive linemen. Isaac Alcorn didn't make it. These guys are probably going to be added onto your practice squad. A few of them, maybe not all of them. Sebastian Gutierrez. Jarrett Kingston, I thought would make the roster. The rookie offensive lineman out of USC. I like what I saw out of him, but maybe he'll make the practice squad. I was surprised about that one. I thought he would make it. And then Drake Nugent, the undrafted rookie out of Michigan, had a really strong camp, strong preseason. I guess he'll make it to the practice squad. I hope he does at least. We'll get those words tomorrow. So that brings us to the defensive side of the ball. Defense, I think they're thin on defensive line. There was a surprise here on the D-line. There was also a surprise at linebacker. Linebacker had me shook, actually. But overall, not too surprising on defense. And the big news on defense actually today was Talanoa Hufanga was activated from the PUP list. He's on the 53-man roster. We were worried that he was or wasn't. There was a report last week saying they got until Wednesday to decide if they're going to keep Talanoa Hufanga on the PUP list or not. They didn't, and now he doesn't have to miss any games. They can ease him back in if he's not ready to play. They got 3 safeties that are ready to go for him, and he could take it easy. So I like that, because if Talanoa Hufanga started on one of those lists like PUP, he'd have to miss at least 4 games like Dre Greenlaw. So that's good news. It looks like Hufanga is rearing back to go. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. It is good stuff. Who's the boss, Jed or Trent? At this point, you're good. Your guess is as good as mine, man. Trent Williams is running the show, Red Eye. It's crazy. What if he gets an ACL at his age? I think that's part of the reason why the 49ers are weary to pay him more money. They've already paid him a huge contract. They gave him all his upfront money. Now he wants more. He's 36, 38, 36. You never know what could happen with him. So it is a tough situation. He is great, but is he worth top AAV in alignment? It's a lot of money, $28 million a year. He's great, but you've already paid the money, man. It's a business, though. So let's get back to the defensive side of the ball. So defensive lineman, you got Robert Beal. He's an edge rusher, second year. I hope he can kind of step up, because they really need some edge depth. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers make a trade at some point this season and get more edge rushers. You got Leonard Floyd. Really love the guy. He is day-to-day right now, as we know. Scared us on that first game of the season, but he should be ready to go week 1. This is a guy that was very, very durable. He's a great player, and I keep saying that he's probably going to be the best guy on the opposite side of Bosa we've had under, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. But he's got to make it on the field, and right now that was a little bit of a scare. But the guy has a good track record, so that's why the 49ers got him, because he has a good track record. So hopefully we're not cursed, you know what I mean? So Leonard Floyd, Kevin Givens, I thought he'd make the roster. He did. Good for him. This one was a surprise to me. I did not see this one on my bingo card. Sam Okoyenuonu. Didn't know he was going to make I did not know he was going to make the roster. Sam Okoyenuonu. Can't even pronounce his name. This guy made the roster. I had no clue he was going to make it. Good for him. Interior lineman. Jordan Elliott, of course, they signed him this offseason. Yetur Gross-Matos, he also had a knee injury on that last preseason game, but he should be ready to go for week 1. He's week to week. This is a guy that's going to really have to step in, take that Charles Omenihu role in between. He can play inside, outside. That's the kind of role he's going to need to play, be a good run stuffer, set the edge, things like that. We got my man Nick Bosa. Obviously, he's a dog. This year, he looks even more lean and mean. Last year, coming off the contract season, he started slow. I think this year we're going to see vintage Nick Bosa. And then you got Javon Hargrave, another guy who came into this season on another, mindset. He looks slim and trim. Last year, he didn't live up to the expectations after a big contract. He got hurt at the end of the season, but I think Hargrave will be back with the vengeance. And then Malik Collins, who's going to be your interior lineman, basically taking over the role from Arik Armstead, and he looks really, really impressive. I really like what I've seen out of Collins. You guys saw in the Raiders game, he just threw 2 linemen to make the stuff in the backfield on the run play. Guy looks impressive. I think he'll help the run defense drastically. So, again, Robert Beal, young player. I think they have a lot of high hopes for him. I have a lot of high hopes for him. We need somebody because other than Leonard Floyd and Nick Bosa, you don't have much on the edge. You got Yetur Gross-Matos, but he's not a clear edge rusher. Robert Beal needs to pick up that pace for the 49ers. So we'll see. I like him, but he just hasn't showed me much this preseason. Got to step it up. I really think the 49ers will get another edge rusher at some point this season. They did it last year. They traded for 2. Right? They got 2 edge rushers last year added to the roster. I think they're going to do the same this year. Chase Young, we all remember that. So I definitely think the 49ers are not done with their roster right now. They always make moves when they need to. Christian McCaffrey a couple years ago. I think they'll make a move for an edge rusher at some point this season. Don't be surprised. 49ers throwback. Posted the question I posted on social media today. Who should be the 49ers captain? As we know, the rosters are set. We're talking about the rosters. Who's the captains? My man says, Throwback says, Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, CMC, Fred Warner, Debo. I don't disagree with those. I think those are very good choice. I think those are going to be the captains. Maybe Juice. I mean, Juice has been there for a minute. Maybe Mooney Ward. Those are guys that could get some captaincy this year. They'll, stepped up, over the years. Definitely think Brock Purdy's going to get it again. Nick Bosa this year, I think will get a captaincy this year. Last year, contract situation was tough, but I think he deserved it. CMC, he hasn't been a captain of the 49ers. He's a leader on that team. Fred Warner, of course, he is a captain. George Kittle, of course. Debo, I really love what I've seen out of Debo the last couple of years. He's become a captain. He's become a leader. Those are all great choices. Don't be surprised if you see Mooney Ward. Don't be surprised if you see Talanoa Hufanga. He's becoming a young captain. So Kyle Juszczyk, we'll see. It's going to be fun to see who the heck's captain. I don't know about Brandon Ayuk being a captain, though, this year. I'll tell you that much. Trent Williams, he was a captain before. I don't know if he could be a captain this year. Bro, holding out. Got Kyle Shanahan in a tizzy. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Demo, I like Demo. I like Demo, too. I like Demo. He's a young buck. I don't know if he becomes a captain this year, but I think eventually Demo will be a captain. So good stuff. Good question. Moving on to the linebackers. This was a surprise for me. There was a couple of surprises. Here we go. The linebackers that made it. Curtis Robinson, shout out to him. He had a fantastic preseason. He deserved to make the roster. I was on the fence. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it, but I had Tatum Bethune over him, and I also had Jalen Graham. Jalen Graham didn't make the roster. Surprised me. He'll probably make the practice squad. Curtis Robinson was just so good they couldn't keep him off this roster. So good for him. The guy that made the roster probably shouldn't have. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, but I kept telling you guys, he's best friends with Fred Warner, so the politics helped him out. So you got Curtis Robinson, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. He's also a big special teamer. You got Tatum Bethune. Shout out to Bethune, 7th-round pick, man. This guy was like a monster. He was a monster in the preseason. He was a tackle machine. You could not deny this guy a spot. I really, really love Tatum Bethune. He was playing on another level this preseason. So, shit, you know what? He really deserved that roster spot. I said I thought he was going to make the roster just because he really played just out of his mind. He was he had the 6th most tackles out of every single linebacker in the preseason. Out of every linebacker that played this preseason, Tatum Bethune was this number 6 most out of all tackles made. It's a 7th-round pick, guys, out of Florida State. This guy is a dog. 49ers know how to draft linebackers, so shout out to Tatum Bethune. That's huge. I love that for him. And then, of course, Fred Warner. Of course, Fred Warner, the captain, the leader, the guy, the quarterback of the defense. And then Devondre Campbell. Devondre Campbell's probably going to take your Dre Greenlaw role until Dre Greenlaw is back. And Dre Greenlaw was placed on the PUP list. He will miss at least 4 games. They can ease him in. They got great linebackers. Dre Greenlaw will miss at least 4 games to start the season, so they don't have to rush him. Again, Curtis Robinson's played good. Oh, and D. Winters made the roster too. D. Winters has played good. So you got Curtis Robinson, D. Winters, Tatum Bethune, Devondre Campbell, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, and Fred Warner. That's a really, really strong unit. That was a hard position to make on this roster. Again, Jalen Graham, I was surprised he didn't make it. But, I mean, the guys ahead of him, it's hard to say they didn't deserve it. Curtis Robinson deserved that spot. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, he knew he was going to make it because he's buddies with Fred Warner. D. Winters was better than Jalen Graham. And Tatum Bethune, I mean, the 7th-round draft pick, worked his butt off. And he was better than Jalen Graham. And Jalen Graham himself was a late-round draft pick, so it was like he's going right up against another late-round pick. And it's unfortunate. So Jalen Graham was a rookie last year, and he's going up against a rookie this year. That's the way I think about it. The rookie this year outperformed him. So, of course, you're not going to get rewarded if you're not playing better than the rookie, and you were a rookie last year. So it's like Kyle's like, hey, you didn't show improvement this year. D. Winters showed improvement. Jalen Graham, you didn't show him enough improvement. You weren't better than our rookie linebacker, which is not a slight to him because that rookie linebacker was good. But, hey, you should be better than a rookie linebacker that we took, and you weren't, so you're going to go to the practice squad. But it's a good thing to have this problem because that just means our linebackers are very good. So, yeah. So those are your linebackers. And then let's get to cornerbacks, defensive back. They put, I think the admin on the 49ers graphics page forgot to put Deommodore Lenoir on the cornerbacks, and he just put Deommodore Lenoir on his own page as defensive back. They might have forgotten. They're like, oh, shit, we put the graphic out already. Whoa, what do we do? I just put Deommodore Lenoir as DB. They won't notice. He's DB. He's not a CB. He's not a cornerback. He's a defensive back. Anyways, your cornerbacks are Charvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas, who was probably going to be on the injured reserve list tomorrow. And a lot of people are like, oh, why did Ambry make it? Why did Ambry make it? They're waiting till tomorrow because they have to make certain procedural moves. And one of those moves is going to be they'll place Ambry Thomas and John Feliciano on the injured reserve. They already did Kalia Davis. They'll put those guys on the injured reserve list, and that way they can call up other guys. But Ambry Thomas, he makes the initial roster, and he'll get placed on the injured reserve tomorrow with the broken forearm. And then Isaac Yiadom made the roster. Obviously, that's not a surprise. Darrell Luter Jr., he played his butt off. He played better than Sam Womack. I figured he would make it. I'm happy for Darrell Luter. He's a tough player. He's got the length. I like him because he's got the length. I know his rookie season was a little up and down. Made some bad moments here and there. He had a lot of injuries, but I like Darrell Luter overall. He was pretty good this offseason in preseason. Renardo Green, 2nd-round draft pick. Guy's a dog. And then you got Deommodore Lenoir. This guy's ready to go break out. Deommodore Lenoir, the hyena, 2nd year. He was a dog. 3rd year, 4th year now. He's going for a contract. I love Demo. This guy's just a pure blast of energy. This guy talks a lot, but he backs it up. People don't want to throw it to Mooney Ward, so they throw it to Deommodore Lenoir, and he makes him pay. I love Demo. I've always been a big guy of his since he came into the league, and he's coming into his own. So you got Mooney Ward, All-Pro, Yiadom, Darrell Luter, Renardo Green, and Deommodore Lenoir. I think that's a solid cornerback group. Again, they'll put Ambry Thomas on the injured reserve, and we'll go from there. Now, there was a surprise cut on this roster. Rock Ya-Sin, the veteran. I thought he'd make the roster. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought Rock Ya-Sin played good enough for them to make the roster, but I guess not. I guess he'll make it the practice squad. Or if they put Ambry on the injured reserve, maybe they can elevate Rock Ya-Sin. So that was a little surprising to me. Sam Womack got cut. Not a surprise to me. Chase Lucas, not a surprise he got cut. He was definitely a practice squad guy when they signed him a few months ago, and I never thought he'd make he would make the 53-man roster. So I wasn't surprised. Chase Lucas, practice squad guy. He's a special teamer. He needed, camp body. And Sam Womack, man, he tried his best. He just never was consistent. He had injuries, and Darrell Luter beat him out. If you look at head-to-head on the preseason, especially that last game, if that was it, if it came down to Darrell Luter and Sam Womack in that Raiders game, Darrell Luter outplayed Sam Womack, and there you go. The rest is history. So that's it. Safeties. Let's talk about safeties. Got 4 safeties: Jair Brown, George Odom, Malik Mustafa, the rookie, and Talanoa Hufanga. As we know, he got activated from the PUP list. I'm so happy for Talanoa Hufanga. But you got Jair Brown, who's ready to go breakout this year. George Odom, who's a really good backup. He's a good special teamer. He's probably one of the best special teamers in the NFL. And then the youngster, Malik Mustafa. Those guys are good enough to let Hufanga take it easy, rest, ease yourself back into the lineup. When you're ready 100% to go, they'll let you go. But you know what? We got good safety room overall. Jair, Odom, Mustafa. Hufanga, you don't need to rush it. We got guys. But the good news is Hufanga made the 53-man roster, and he doesn't have to miss any time. So, Red Eye is a good point. He says Luter's physical abilities are better than Womack alone. Womack is a tiny dude. Yeah, he's undersized, but some of those guys are scrappy. Luter's physicality definitely plays better in the league against big receivers. They're going to go up against some big guys. Sam Womack, I don't know if he'd be able to handle them physically, so it's a good point. Let's see, safeties, we went over that. And last but not least, special teams, the specialists. You got the one and only Taybor Pepper as your long snapper. You got Mitch Wishnowsky, the punter, the 4th-round pick punter, and Jake Moody, the 3rd-round pick kicker. Is your place kicker, is your guy. He's going to give us a roller coaster again like last year. Let's hope he doesn't. Let's hope he's consistent this year and he doesn't piss us all off. But, I was looking at this today. I was like, God, man, the 49ers used a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick on their 2 kickers. It's kind of crazy. They're kind of crazy, right? Most of those guys are 7th-rounders, undrafted for the most part. Nobody drafts kickers. The 49ers, they got 2 kickers they drafted. Their kicker and their punter. That's kind of crazy to me. But my man Taybor Pepper, was there ever a doubt? Taybor Pepper was making this roster? Never to me. California Man says 49ers should get Frank Gore Jr. since he got cut by Buffalo. I'm sure a lot of teams want Frank Gore Jr. He's going to have to clear waivers, and I don't think the 49ers will be able to claim him. I would love to see Frank Gore Jr. on this roster. Throw him on the practice squad. Him and Frank Gore, his dad. That would be great for the culture. But I don't think it's going to happen. Red Eye says Moody already missed the field goal in the preseason. Don't remind me. Why you got to remind me? Jake Moody, he's going to give us a lot of nightmares if he keeps missing those kicks. And I don't want that. I want him to be great. There's a lot of but the thing is about Jake Moody, and I said this last year when they drafted him, there's so much pressure on this guy. There's so much pressure on Jake Moody because they drafted him in the 3rd freaking round. Like, he is probably a great kicker. He is a good kicker. I saw him in college. I know he's good, but you put a kicker in that pressure situation, it's going to make him mentally stressed out. It's hard enough to be a kicker in that league because mentally, I have one job. I have to make this kick or I'm going to get roasted on a weekly basis if I don't make these kicks. Now you're a 3rd-round kicker. You were drafted in 3rd round. The pressure is even higher because people are going to say, hey, we drafted you ahead of this guy, that guy, the other. Make these damn kicks because you're a waste of a pick. We could have had XYZ. It's a lot of pressure on a guy. So I would never have drafted a punter or a kicker. That's all I'm saying. They're good. Mitch Wishnowsky's a good punter, but is he worth a 4th-round pick? I don't know. I thought Harvin. I thought Harvin guy, the guy we got this offseason when Mitch was hurt. I thought he was a great punter. We found him for nothing. Did you really need to draft a punter? Did you really need to draft a kicker? I get it. Robbie Gould was the man. Are you trying to make a point that you drafted a kicker? You didn't want Robbie Gould that bad? You drafted a kicker? Could have got a free agent kicker. I don't know. So, we'll see. Ian Sharp says, Pepper looks more disappointed than Moody when he misses. Pepper looks pissed when they miss a kick. He don't want his boys to miss a kick because he knows they're going to get roasted. And Moody, he's just like, I missed the kick. It's cool. We'll see how it goes. But that's the roster. What do you guys think? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What's your overall grade? I mean, definitely no Trent Williams. This is not an A roster. B- at best without Trent Williams. At best, that old line is not looking hot. I mean, the rest of the roster, you got great players. George Kittle, Debo, CMC, Brock Purdy. You got some studs. You got Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. It's a B. You don't have your best lineman, though. And your quarterback's going to be running for his life. That's not good. You haven't figured out your wide receiver situation with Brandon Ayuk. CeeDee Lamb just got paid yesterday. Let's hope they figure it out. Flood said, I'm bummed that Kingston didn't make it. You know, I thought he was going to make it. I'm a little upset he didn't make it either. I think he had potential. I think he's better than some of those linemen they kept. I'm not going to lie to you. I think they could have kept Kingston, but, you know, he'll make it to the practice squad and they'll develop him. Baby Radiance says the defense is looking elite like always. The defense looks really good this year. I just think the one area where the 49ers need to improve on defense is edge rusher. Again, I love Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd, and they're going to be fantastic together, but you need some depth. You need some depth, man. You need some depth because I'm not sold on Robert Beal. I don't know if he's going to be able to be a consistent pass rusher and get to the quarterback. And Yetur Gross-Matos, he's not a true pass rusher. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the moves to come off the edge. He can play, but he's more of that, you know, set the edge type guy. And I like Gross-Matos, and I think he will be good, but he's just not that pure pass rush. And we need a pass rush specialist. So, Red Eye. This is Moody as Shanahan's personal pick. He'll never get rid of him. Yeah, I agree. 49ers throwbacks is I think Jair will be better this year, and Demo. Yeah, I think Jair and Demo are going to go great. They're going to be breakout candidates. Jair, man, I think this year 2 leap is going to be astronomical. You remember when Fred Warner took that year 2 leap? That's kind of how I feel like Jair Brown. Remember when Talanoa Hufanga took that year 2 leap? That's kind of what I feel. I feel like that's the trajectory I see with a guy like Jair Brown and even Demo. Demo's going to go crazy, but I really think that Jair Brown's going to go crazy. So let's see. My man Flood says, your dreams came true. Been following you for a while. You've always wanted a deep cornerback room. You know what? I've been screaming it from the mountaintops for years, Flood. Get cornerback depth. And they finally listen. Now I'm screaming, get offensive line depth. Maybe they'll listen, but I definitely think that they finally have a room of cornerbacks that's like, whoa, man, look at the depth, man. Mooney Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, Isaac Yiadom, Renardo Green. That guy's a stud waiting to happen. I like it a lot. And then the safeties are really good. Mustafa, Jair Brown. This secondary is so good. It's elite, and I'm so happy about it. So you and Larry are on tonight. We should be. I haven't seen him text me yet, but I'll text them back. I've been out and about during the afternoon after rosters were set. So I will talk to Larry, and we'll get moving. But we will be back on tonight. But, yeah, overall, I like the roster. We need Trent Williams because you're not winning a Super Bowl without Trent Williams. And let's hope to God they figure out this Brandon Ayuk situation, man. Let's see. Red Eye says the defensive backfield has improved. Problem is D-line depth due to injuries. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said they need more depth. This D-line, there's always going to be some weird injury. Those guys are in the trenches, O-line, D-line. Injuries happen. It's just part of the game. Your D-lineman gets a foot stepped on. They twist their ankle. Something happens. It's the toughest part of the game. The trenches, you need good depth. So I agree with that. Yeah, they definitely need that depth, man. Noah says, I wish we had Kingston, Graham, and Rock Ya-Sin on the roster. I was surprised that Rock Ya-Sin didn't make it, Noah. I really was. I was surprised. Kingston, too, I think he could have made it. And Jalen Graham, again, that linebacker position. The other day when I was talking about it, I said it could go either way. Tatum Bethune, Curtis Robinson, Jalen Graham, they were all fighting for those final spots. And, you know, again, with Jalen Graham, he was a second-year player, and he did not play better than the rookie Tatum Bethune. That just shows you how good Tatum Bethune was. He beat out the second-year player. And Curtis Robinson, man, there's no way you can leave him off this roster. He had such a great preseason, man. He worked his ass off. So kudos to him, man. He really worked. But Rock Ya-Sin was a surprise to me. But maybe they'll put Ambry Thomas on the injured reserve list, and then they can put Rock Ya-Sin on the final roster. So because it doesn't make sense to keep Ambry Thomas on the roster when he's injured. So I'm pretty sure they're going to place him on the injured reserve list. So Red Eye says Garendo is the last running back 4. Yeah, he is. Garendo is running back 4. But don't be surprised if Garendo climbs up to running back 3. Patrick Taylor, no disrespect. Shout out to Patrick Taylor. He really proved himself that he's RB3. But listen, this is the thing. Guerrero makes the roster because A, he can return kicks. We saw that 93-yard kick return. Holy Jesus, that guy's explosive. He's got speed. But I think Isaac Guerrero, as the season rolls on, he'll be running back 3. Yeah. Julius says Elijah Mitchell being out for the year makes it easier for Shanahan to give J.P. Mason more carries. I think J.P. Mason was going to get his carries regardless because he's a dog, man. Yo, shout out to Jordan. You know what? Jordan Mason, 3 years ago when he came to the Niners, undrafted, he had a 1% chance to make the roster. He's your running back too. Yeah. What a guy. What a guy, man. My man Red Eye says, Mitchell should have been waived 2 seasons ago. I knew he was Jalen Hurd 2.0 then. That's unfortunate for him. This guy really is the next Jalen Hurd. The guy cannot stay. He's allergic to staying healthy. Jalen Hurd and Elijah Mitchell are literally allergic to stay healthy. When they're healthy, they break out. It's like they get COVID or something. Ah, shit, I'm healthy. No, I gotta get injured. It's unfortunate. I don't want to joke, but it's true. JR says, is it safe to say Mitchell has played his last snap for us? I think it is. I think we'll never see Elijah Mitchell play another snap for the Niners, man. I mean, you got Isaac Guerrero, J.P. Mason, Cody Schrader will be there next year if he develops on the practice squad. Like, there's no way I think Elijah Mitchell's come back. He can't stay healthy. He's allergic to it. You just don't see it. I think it is. Davey Radiant says Mason is like a mini Marshawn Lynch. He really is. 49ers throwback says J.P. Mason took advantage of his opportunities and Elijah Mitchell didn't. Plain and simple. That is it. Plain and simple. You take advantage of the ops. J.P. Mason did. So, anyways, with that, I'm out. You guys have a blessed night. I love you. Bang, bang. Niner gang.